before we move on, I want to spend a little time here reminding you of the some aspects of cell biology and cellular organization and organelles, because it's really important to appreciate the different structures. So we're going to talk about cell membrane, cytoplasm, nucleus, some of the key functions of these different organelles. Also importantly, this is very important in the context of covering enzymes, because enzymes are usually localized in one place in the cell. Some enzymes are only present in the cytoplasm. Some enzymes are only present in the mitochondria. Some enzymes are only present in the cell membrane. So that becomes part of regulation of these enzymes. Okay, and I'll get to that a little later. So I'm going to start with this colorful cell membrane. I want you to appreciate one very important thing, because sometimes we forget. The only reason there is a cell is because there is a cell membrane. A cell membrane is the physical barrier that creates the cell. Without the physical barrier, there's no inside, there's no outside. Okay? So this is the first important thing about the cell membrane. Here's the cell membrane, this red structure. It's a bilayer of phospholipids. You have a lipid bilayer. Here's the outside, here's the inside, cytoplasm. Very important physical barrier. However, that's not it. There are many parts of or components of the cell membrane that are extremely important. You might have proteins that act as channels for specific molecules, allowing certain molecules to come in or out. There are cell surface receptors, like this one here, that allows this cell to communicate with the extracellular environment. So I'm not going to go through everything that's in that membrane, but I want you to appreciate that the important role of the cell membrane. Physical barrier, keeping things out, but also an important way to communicate with the outside environment through cell surface receptors, through ion channels, and so on. Okay? So this is kind of the big, nice little cartoon. I like it because it's pretty straightforward and simple. I want to focus again. Here's the cell membrane, plasma membrane. We go into other membranes, ER. That's the ER. That's where protein synthesis takes place at the ribosomal ER sort of interface, if you want. Very important protein synthesis. Proteins are processed through the Golgi and are sorted after the Golgi, whether they're secreted or stay in the cytoplasm or become membrane proteins and so on. Obviously, you have the nucleus. That's where all nucleic acids are. You have replication, transcription taking place in the nucleus. Importantly, you have these structures here, the mitochondria. Extremely important organelles. The mitochondria are basically the power plants of the cell by providing almost 80% of all energy, cellular energy needs, are produced in the mitochondria. And then you have this structure here, and there are several, obviously, mitochondria. You have this structure here called lysosomes. Lysosomes are sort of the garbage disposal site of the cell. Anything the cell no longer needs, proteins, lipids, nucleic acids, carbohydrates, it sends to the lysosome to be degraded and metabolized. Okay? So I just want you to know the overall important thing about these different organelles. This is a real micrograph of a cell. So what we were looking at is an artist's rendition, but this is a real one, and I want you to see that all of these structures actually exist. Okay, here's the Golgi, here's the ER, here's the plasma membrane, here's the intercellular space, here's the nucleus, where's the mitochondrion, here's a mitochondrion. So, you know, this is real, these are real organelles. They're not just an artist's rendition. Okay. So one important thing I want to point out to you is that in the context of metabolism, many pathways are localized in different cellular compartments. For example, in the cytoplasm, you have several pathways: glycolysis, HMP, fatty acid synthesis. In the mitochondria, you have other pathways: TCA cycle, pyruvate dehydrogenase, fatty acid oxidation. What does that mean? It means that usually the enzymes are here for these pathways, and for those pathways, the enzymes are inside the mitochondrion. So that means if you want to metabolize something, you want to bring it in to where the enzymes are. You can't move the enzymes, but you can move the substrates. For example, if you want to metabolize pyruvate, which was in the cytoplasm, you have to bring it inside the mitochondrion. So that becomes part of enzyme regulation, is bringing the substrate to where the enzymes can work on it. Okay? So I just want you to appreciate that in the general big picture.